Hi there, I'm Becky from Nomadic Knits, and today we're going to learn how to knit a Latvian braid in the round. I'm working a Latvian braid for the 2025 Lonely Hearts Club knit along. So you can see that I've begun the brim of a hat here, and right after the brim of the hat, I'm going to add the Latvian braid. I'm just completing the brim and am back at the beginning of my round here. So a Latvian braid consists of a setup round and then 2 rounds of purling when you're working it in the round. So we're going to go ahead and add in our contrast color here. We'll alternate color 2 with color 1 from the beginning to the end of this round. So we'll add in our color 2, and we are going to alternate knit stitches. To work this in the round, because we are alternating color 1 and color 2, you need to have an even number of stitches on your needle. So we've just about completed this setup round. Easy peasy, right? Just a simple alternating color knit stitch. So we're going to slip our beginning around marker, and then we'll bring both of our yarns to the front of our work. And now is a good time to make sure that you have plenty of yarn slack, I guess I'll say. And this will make more sense in a moment as to why you might want to do this. So both of our yarns are now in the front of our work, and we're going to begin purling. And we'll always be purling color 2 with color 2 and color 1 with color 1. So we're beginning with our color 2 here. We're just going to go ahead and purl. And for this round, we will always be bringing the next color under the previous color. So from under color 2, we will purl the next stitch with color 1. And then we will purl the next stitch, bringing color 2 underneath. Then we'll purl again with color 1 that we have brought underneath. And what this is doing is creating a braid on the front of your work. So you keep bringing the waiting yarn underneath to work the next stitch. And you'll notice that my yarn is beginning to twist just a little bit. It's going to twist quite a lot more as we work our way around and keep crisscrossing these stitches. You don't want to try and fix this. This is the reason for the extra slack that I mentioned, because you can run that twist further back in your yarn so that it doesn't make it difficult to work. But you don't want to try to untwist them, because the next round that we do is going to untwist them. And if you go ahead and untwist them now, they will twist again next round, and then you'll have to untwist them again. So it's best to just let them twist and keep moving that twist down the yarn so that it doesn't create problems with your knitting. And keep bringing the yarn underneath to purl. And you can see that beautiful twist that's starting to form on the front of your work. Isn't that lovely? It is such a beautiful stitch. We've come to the end of this first round of purling and are getting ready to start the second round of purling. And you can see, as I'm finishing up this round, that I have quite a lot of tangles in my yarn right now. Just remember that that's okay, because this next round is going to untwist this yarn for us. Now, we could just slip our beginning of round marker and begin with our second round of purling. But what would happen is that we would end up with a jog between the beginning and end of our Latvian braid. And you've probably seen this before. It's very common, and it takes a couple of extra steps to eliminate that jog. And you'll never eliminate it entirely because we are knitting in a spiral. So the beginning of your round is always going to be a bit lower than the end of that same round. So you get this offset braid. But we're going to use this fantastic little trick from Patty Lyons and alleviate that jog as best we can. So to do this trick, we're going to slip our beginning of round marker, and then we're going to slip that first stitch, and we slip that purlwise. You're going to take color 1 and wrap it to the back, leaving color 2 in the front. So we've wrapped that stitch now, and we're going to slip it back to our left-hand needle. And then we're going to slip our beginning of round marker back to our left-hand needle. And then we're going to slip that last stitch of that first purl round back to our left-hand needle. And we will bring color 1, there it is, back to the front. So with our color 1 to the front again, we're going to purl this stitch for a second time because we already purled it as we were finishing that round, but we're going to go ahead and purl it again. And now we'll simply carry on, and that's going to help us eliminate some of that jog. We'll slip our beginning of round marker, and for this round, instead of going under, we're going to go over for each purl stitch, and that's going to untwist our twisted yarn. We are still knitting C1 with C1 and C2 with C2. So go ahead and purl that first stitch, and then bring that next color over the top and purl. We're going to bring that over the top and purl, and we will continue doing this to the end of the round. We've reached the end of our second purl round, and our yarn is untwisted itself, and we're ready to begin the rest of our pattern. But first, we need to bring our C1 to the back of our work, and then we're going to cut our C2, leaving about an 8-inch tail. We're going to leave that in the front of our work because this is what we're going to use to do the last step in joining our Latvian braid. And we will leave that until we've worked a bit of the rest of our pattern. So if you need your color 2 to carry on working whatever pattern it is that you're working, if you are knitting the Lonely Hearts Club hat from 2025, then you will need that C2, but you will need to add it in again from your ball, because this tail we need to remain in the front to clean up that Latvian braid. All right, as you can see, I've worked a couple of rounds of my pattern, and this just lends a little bit of stability to this braid before we begin to weave in this end. Honestly, I'd normally wait until I was completely done with the project to do this, but I wanted to show you how it works, and I also saved the tail end on this one so that you get to see it twice. So the first thing you're going to do is to take that tail that you left in the front of your work and thread it through a tapestry needle. I like to use these little ones with the bent tip. It just makes it a little bit easier for navigating through these stitches. And the first thing you're going to look for is this bump right here, right above my thumbnail. And it looks as though, if you're looking at it this way, it looks as though your thread's coming through there. And so you might think like, oh, I don't want to put it back through there because it'll unravel, but it's not. If you pull on it, you can see that it's actually coming through the stitch above. So go ahead and get your thread through there, your yarn through there, so that it's on this side of the purl bump. And then from there, you're going to look for the opposite colors braid. And you're going to knit through that braid. So you can see right here, that's, oh, getting a little bit of that color in there. This guy right here. That's what I want to pull my yarn into. And there you go. Just like that, you have joined your braid in the round. And you'll see that it's not perfect, but we're also looking at it quite closely right now. And once you weave in your ends and neaten this up and block it, it is going to look so much better than if we had just skipped those steps in the middle and knit around. So let's give this one more shot with our other project here. Once again, we're going to take the yarn that we left to the front of our work and thread it onto a tapestry needle. We're going to look for that same purl bump. You see it right here is the bump that we're looking for. We will pull our yarn through that purl bump, and then we'll look for the bit of braid in the opposite color that we want to insert our tapestry needle under. And there it is. And once again, we've neatened up that braid, and once we weave in those ends and block it, we'll have a nice neat join. I hope that you've enjoyed working this Latvian braid, and I hope that you find some fun projects to test it out on. It's really a lot of fun, and for just 3 rounds of somewhat fiddly work, you end up with something truly eye-catching. And you can see that it's nice and stretchy. I hope that this was helpful to you, and happy knitting!